Alright, well, you know we can't just let that go as is. We've got to make some settings in the XML files to allow us to possibly make this jump, because vehicles are not meant to jump in this game, and that's just unacceptable. First thing, we have the motor torque min and max velocity here. We're going to change this to 6,000. We'll just double that for an even keel. I'm not going to mess with any of the other stuff we have. Upward angle max, we'll see about that one, because I'm not quite sure how much that's going to change. But down here, the velocity max is where I want to mess with it. The 9 and the 14, this is the speed if you're just cruising around, and 14 is the speed if you were to hold shift, you know, the quote-unquote turbo. You can see it's not much difference. I'm leaving the min value alone because if I need to turn around and redo it, I don't want to be doing 1,000 miles an hour in slow gear. So we'll just mess with the maximum speed here when holding down shift. We'll bump it to 75 because that sounds like a nice acceptable starting route. So let's get back in the game and see how much that affects our jumping ability. Alright, we are raring, ready to go. Let's get this bad boy moving. Okay, see, normal speed. This is turbo speed here. Let's see if this does anything different. Okay, that did a whole lot better than I thought it was going to be. We cleared about double the number of buses, but obviously that's not going to be enough. We need to crank that number way, way higher. So let's get back into it. Okay, so bumping it from 14 to 75 allowed us to double the speed which we had there, but it's still clearly not enough here. So what we need to do is we're going to go 250. That sounds like a reasonable upscaling. Again, we're going to leave the default value alone here so we can cruise around at normal speed without running through buildings and stuff. I'm going to leave the torque min max pressure on here, the max Q. I'm not going to mess with any of that stuff. I'm trying not to mess with too many values. You start messing with too many, you're not quite sure which one did the job here. So we're just going to change the max speed to 250 and see how much we can clear with that. So let's hope that worked out, shall we? We're getting a little bit further back so we get a full run up here. I want to make sure we get the maximum possible speed we can get from this. Let's see how we do here. We're getting a little bit better here. We may have to make a few other adjustments, maybe some torque changes, whatever. Because, I mean, we're going to have to bump this up into the thousands to fully clear this, and hopefully we don't end up blowing up the bus. But that's what we're here to do, to see how ludicrous we can possibly make this. So let's get back into the file. Alright, so we're good to go here. Upward angle max. I think that might have something to do with like a wheelie. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. Up force. I'm not exactly sure what this is. Some of these rates in here, it's impossible to figure out what it's doing here. But we're going to change the max velocity here. We're going to change this to 1,000 just to bump it up. I am going to change this to 20 just to help ease that transition into there. Let's see. The motor torque, we're going to bump this up to, well, we'll do 20,000. That sounds like a reasonable jump here. Because, again, we're trying to clear a lot of buses. We don't want to just barely clear it. We want to clear it with room to go. So now let's go see how well that'll work. Good feeling about this. This is going to work. I can feel it. Get full maximum speed here. Really? Even bumping up to that is not giving us that much more force. We may have to just go fully ludicrous speeds here. And we cleared, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 10 and a half buses. The world record at the moment is 17 buses. Or 16 buses, I think. We're trying to go for 17. I think I have 18 down here too, because if we're going to clear it, by God, we're going to clear it by a long ways. Okay, well, that's what we're here for. We're just going to jack all the speeds up into the millions and see what happens. Alright, so I made one other change here. I changed the brake torque here. It goes in that fast while holding the brake. I was having to come to a pretty good coasting stop here, which is really annoying. So I doubled that just to get it up a little bit easier to slam on the brakes. Alright, so we're going to bump the torque here up to 50,000 because that seems totally reasonable. Alright, now I'm not entirely sure. See, I said initially this was the two different speeds here, the coasting speed and the turbo speed. I could be slightly mistaken on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump this up to 50. And I'm going to bump up this to 10,000 because why not, right? I mean, that just sounds like a thing. So hopefully that will actually keep it going a lot faster. We'll see, of course, if we can clear this stupid jump or not. But one thing at a time. Okay, this one's for all the glory. I seem to be getting a little bit better speed on this one. I'm not quite sure or not. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we won't. Okay, I honestly don't think we're getting any further on that one. We may have to reevaluate some of this stuff here because we're getting some pretty good speed when we hit that. And I do realize that when you hit the ramp, it kind of slows you down, which means we need to have a tremendous amount of speed before we even hit it. So let's make one other change real quick.
2 hours later.
Alright, after literally a day of messing with the settings, I think I finally got it. So we're going to try this out, and if it works out, then I'll show you guys what all I did differently. So, wish me luck. Okay, that is as close as I'm going to get it. You know, when Evil Knievel set the bus record way back when or whatever, his back tire technically touched the edge of the bus, but it still counted. You know what? I didn't crash, and I cleared however many buses. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 buses, baby. Whether it's a real world record or not, don't even care. It's a 7 Days to Die world record. If you know of somebody who's jumped more buses, then send them my direction or send me their direction or whatever. But at the moment, I'm claiming world title on this one. So, here's some of the things I had to change. I had to do a lot of setting changes back and forth, like seriously a day and a half of just messing with the settings. The min torque, you have to set like much lower than the maximum torque. The minimum velocity, it has to be, you know, like that when you're not holding shift. If you set it more than 100, basically, every time you stop your bike, you run out of gas. That was one of the biggest pain in the butt things. So I set the minimum the minimum velocity at like 95, and the maximum velocity I just put a whole bunch of 9s in there. And if you notice, I'm not traveling warp speed. So it seems like there's a mechanic within the engine, whatever it might be, that is preventing the bike from going warp speed. Now, I don't know why. I can't seem to figure out how to adjust it any differently than that. And you can see I had to make the tunnel considerably longer because it takes forever for the bike to get going max speed. And then this sometimes happens if you know, completely get just a little bit of the wobbles going at this kind of speed, your bike just shakes uncontrollably. So I'm looping this back around here, just kind of messing with it to try one more time just to see if perchance I can get my back tire to touch that ramp. But you can see I had to use some like creative tools and dig out this tunnel to give me the maximum possible distance. Because like I said, it takes forever for your bike to hit maximum velocity. It's, for some reason, you can hit your minimum velocity, you start off at that speed. It's like instantly. But then your max, it takes forever to get going there. I kept going back and forth, a little bit further, and then a little bit further, and realized I'm going to have to dig all the way to the edge of this cliff to be able to have myself enough distance to be able to get the full jump in here. So we're going to try one more time. Also, if you hit the ramp head on, you'll damage your bike and you won't actually make the jump. Alright, so that one was a little bit shorter. But, you know what? We landed on top of the last bus on that one jump. I'm going to call it a success. So this one was not nearly as overly dramatic as I was hoping. I really honestly wanted to set the max speed at about, 9,000 miles an hour, hit the ramp, and then launch it over the mountains over there. But there's too many in-game mechanics preventing me from doing so. But hopefully this was at least entertaining, watching me fail a few times and then one epic jump there at the end. I don't know if that would be enough distance to clear the gorge or not. I'm not going to deal with setting this up. Feel free to, but now you know. Set the minimum to about 95 and set the max to about, 99,000, and you should be okay. Don't mess with any of the other settings. You'll start messing with how well the bike runs. But anyway, hopefully this one was fun. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor and leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you guys so much for our time. You have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.